Hello everyone, welcome to the Circuit Ricardo Tormo. Here we are in Valencia in Spain for round one of our Ferrari Challenge Europe for 2023. We are blessed with sunshine and clear blue skies, just one or two little fluttering harmless high clouds around, but the temperature and weather conditions absolutely perfect for the Ferrari Challenge to get underway here, the first event of our 2023 season. This is precisely where we are then, and the Circuit Ricardo Tormo, I guess, is maybe 35 minutes or so from the city centre of Valencia, and if ever you're looking for a Spanish city break, I would thoroughly recommend Valencia, a wonderful city full of a mix of very, very contemporary and, of course, historic architecture as well, and it is truly lovely. Great to see some spectators here to enjoy the action to come from the Ferrari Challenge. And as you can see, the air temperature is 22 degrees. The track temperature is climbing nicely to 27 degrees. There's just a flutter of wind of about 5 kilometers per hour, which I don't think will hamper any of our Coppa Shell drivers as they head out for their qualifying session, which is the session that we will be bringing you in full. And it is split into two, and here you can see a fantastic opportunity to join this circuit, and this is the entrance as you make your way into this extraordinary, quite technical track. And what a lovely view this is from our drone shot then as you make your way into the track. Alongside me is Nico Spalek, as I urge everyone to follow us on @Ferrari Races. This is a slightly better, more speedy entrance than you made in the rental car just yesterday.
Yeah, a little higher too, and maybe for our insurance that's a good thing. Welcome everybody here. The Circuit Ricardo Tormo, as it presents itself here in the sunshine, brilliant, just a little bit outside of Valencia, and really, really good to see some spectators who made their way onto the grandstand and into the paddock. It's a lively place, both in the grids, behind it, and the circuit, currently still empty, is going to fill up with the Ferrari 4A Challenge.
Share your passion. Ferrari Races, we would love you to do that, sharing the passion with us. And broadcast duties, just another member of our team is Ludovica, who is down there in the pit lane. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dave and Nico, and welcome to you on the grid. This is the first part of two of the first qualifying session of Coppa Shell. This is the 31st edition of Ferrari Challenge Europe, a journey for Ferrari, which begins here in Valencia at the circuit of Ricardo Tormo. There is a great atmosphere and a great weather. As you said before, there is 22 grades, and is a special and lovely condition to drive today and to catch the first pole position of this trophy. As you can see behind me, all the teams and the cars are ready and more excited for this trophy and the start of this season.
Thank you so much, Ludovica, who is going to be such a star during the course of the season, really adding to our broadcast. Now, you can see there as we look at Eric Chung for Formula Racing. Now, he's got a very yellow sun strip across the top of his car. And these are the cars that you're going to see out for a qualifying session, which is split in two, because we have both Coppa Shell drivers and Coppa Shell AM drivers that will be contesting the race a little bit later on. But due to the sheer volume of cars that we have of drivers that want to be part of Ferrari Challenge, we're splitting the qualifying in two, and the first of the cars we're going to see are those with the yellow sun strip. They are Shell drivers, including the returning Christian Kinch for Gome and Frank Herter Racing. Great to see Christian back in the 4A Challenge Evo. And now the Shell AM drivers that we'll see in the second part of qualifying, which will come around in about 25 minutes' time, they will have a black strip at the top of the windscreen. I think I've been accurate, Mr. Spalek, and I doubtless you will thrash me with a fish if I'm wrong.
No reason and no need for that, because it was spot on. We already saw the Trofeo Pirelli drivers earlier do a qualifying session. Now we've got the Shell and the Shell AM drivers. And if there's one thing that's for sure, the Shell drivers, certainly big in terms of character, great people here, and Christian Kinch certainly one of them. Roger Grohl's another one.
The returning Roger Grohl's, may I say.
Indeed, indeed, and good to have him back. Very, very quick driver indeed.
And while he was missing for a year, he's not been idle. He was telling us that he's actually taken part in Dakar, and he's done some really, really exciting things. So Roger, very much looking forward to the season, as indeed is Christian Kinch. Welcome back to Christian then in the familiar colours, and there's none more familiar than this man, Fons Skeltema, with the shark's teeth adorning nearly everything that he owns. So the front of the car, all his apparel, everything with the shark's teeth. And Fons on a good day is ready to bite bottom, that's for sure. And he's one of those drivers, Nico, that you can never discount him.
Oh, absolutely not. And last year at the World Final, which we celebrated in Imola at the end of October, he was given a huge trophy and a bigger round of applause for, you can call it lifetime achievement, because
endurance.
It's been such a strong hold and steady presence in the Ferrari Challenge. And lifetime achievement almost sounds like it was over, which certainly for Fons isn't. He's still very motivated and very much eager to prove his ability and his skill. And while he's not out there yet, as we've only got 4 drivers out onto the track yet, he will show that he has everything to prove.
Hello, Pino. Pino Frascaro there, you can see in the final stages of preparations. He's about to jump in the car. Already jumped in the car is Roger Grolls, as you can see, for Kroijmans and Race Art. And let's go on board with him now, as we can see the focus and concentration then as he's on his installation lap right now. And you and I walked the track yesterday, and I think realise and perhaps take on board, more so than we did prior to our track walk, the sheer technicality of this track, to get it absolutely nailed and to get it right. You can see him weaving from side to side, trying to burn and generate temperature into those Pirelli P0 tyres, which of course adorn the 488 Challenge Evo. So not expecting a time from Roger on this lap, because this is very much an installation lap. He will be going for it when he breaks the timing beam at the end of this lap. He'll have set himself up perfectly. Now, we did see, as he rounds the final turn, turn number 14, the Adrian Campos turn, and heads down the start-finish straight right now to start his first timed lap. We did see in the earlier Trofeo Pirelli session, Nico, we had a suspension, we had a red flag. What's the strategy going to be? Because these drivers have only got 20 minutes, and at the moment, Roger is one of only 2 drivers that is actually out there on the track. Yeah, so as you say, where normally you've got 30 minutes combining Shell and Shell AM drivers, now it's 20 minutes per subcategory, and that means you can't leave it that late. We still see lots of the drivers biding their time a little bit, but it's not going to be as extensive. Certainly the track is going to evolve and get quicker, but we've seen it time and time again. You can be caught out if you leave it too late and a red flag catches you. And with the gravel traps around this circuit, there is always the chance for a beach car, so better safe than sorry is a well-used and sometimes overused statement, but I do think it applies here. And as we see, Roger Grolls still not on a very quick lap, and that is a bit of a detour. Dare I say that? You dare say that, because he's taken the very unorthodox route to rejoin the track right now. So this is not going to be the first timed lap, as I predicted from Roger Grolls. And let's take a look here. Where did he get it wrong? That's where he got it wrong. Perhaps missed his braking point, Nico, if I may be bold enough, and didn't make the left-hander, and therefore straight on, indicated left, and was then using the, what is officially, I think, the photographer's lane, isn't it? That's where you go and pitch yourself up to take some of the wonderful images you see from the Ferrari Challenge. I remind you to follow us on @Ferrari Racers. So here is Roger then. He's going to have to set himself up to do it all over again. Love these onboard shots of seeing the drivers hard at work inside their wonderful 488 Challenge Evo machines, including one Mr. Ingvar Madsen for Scuderia Autoropa. It's great to see Ingvar back in the Ferrari Challenge, and he is going to give us our first pretty meaningful time, I would think, although Christian Kinch has posted a 1:42.235. Ingvar Madsen goes quicker with a 1:41.294, which for the moment puts him right at the top of the chart. We are expecting, as Nico indicated and alluded to, we're expecting times to come down. There's a bit of rubber on the track because, of course, the Trofeo Pirelli cars have been out there. The track temperature is warmer than it was when those TP cars were out doing their qualifying. And here comes Corinna Gosner. Just one member of the 3-strong Gosner family that will be racing, although I should say 4-strong, because David Gosner is here this weekend as well. And now Christian Kinch goes faster. As you can see, if the S1, S2 and S3, if those light up with the purple colour, That means it's an overall best time, quicker than anybody else. And Christian Kinch is on something of a mission here. He said to me yesterday when we were having a conversation, Dave, I think I'm going to be a second off the pace. Well, maybe that won't be the case as a round has gone. Thomas Gosner. So Thomas Gosner then engages reverse. The sprinklers to the left-hand side, as you can see, are going. How did Thomas... Well, that was taking perhaps slightly elaborate avoiding action as the car went round the outside. There was no contact between the two of them, and Thomas just losing the back end of the car. Current quickest is Christian Herdvieper as we look at the 1-2-1 car that is about to go out, and that will be Peter Christensen for Formula Racing. Here is Christian Herdvieper then. Roger Grols has now gone faster than anyone and has taken a chunk of time that you would have to find a carrier bag to fit it into of 1.3 seconds better than anyone else. Ingvar Madsen is now second fastest. These are personal best times from Christian Herdvieper, who momentarily was at the top of the chart, but now is P3 as, wow, here we go. Exactly what we were saying about how a session can be suspended, as that was Corinna Gosner in the gravel, Nico.
Yeah, indeed, and we've got a yellow flag localized for the moment, which is almost worse than a red flag, because it means you can't really do anything about your lap times. And there is the moment, and
it's cold tyres, I think.
It's cold tyres, and as we probably saw with Roger Grols, maybe cold brakes in some instances, which don't quite afford you the stopping power early on, because it's not only about...
Red flag, Nico. Forgive me interrupting you, but I always knew where that car was. A local yellow was not going to be enough. That car needs pulling out of there with some form of additional equipment. It's not going to be out there under its own steam, and the steam is plenty enough in a 488 Challenge Evo, but that car is properly beached to its axle stubs.
Yeah, and that is something that we also encountered in our track warps. If you leave the track and go onto the gravel beds, they're actually quite soft. So even our relatively low weight, well, at least compared to a 488 Challenge Evo, you already start sinking in after a few steps. And so they are exactly designed to stop those cars, and they do a magnificent job of that.
The depth of sinking in was greater for me than it was for you.
Whatever.
Directly proportional to belly size, I would suggest. Right, as the session was stopped, we had two drivers in the 138s and merely 2¼ tenths between them. Roger Grols and Christian Herdvieper, as Manuela Gosner passes on her best wishes to all of you that are watching, and we are delighted that you are joining us with our qualifying session. We're live from Valencia in Spain for round one of our Ferrari Challenge European season, and of course all the drivers making their way back into the pit lane. And well, it's another suspension, it is another red flag, which gives us the opportunity to dive down into the pit lane with Ludovica.
Hi Dave, I call you because I want to see you how many people there are today at the circuit of Riccardo Tormo to see this beautiful trophy and experience of the big family of Ferrari. In the meanwhile, a lot of cars are back in the box for check and to restart and as soon in the track.
Thank you, Ludovica. Many, of course, of the people that have come here have come to see you and me as our fan club virgins in terms of popularity. The Ludovica and Dave fan club. Ludovica's side has got a big population. The Dave side, not quite so, Nico.
I'm in both of your camps. Yeah, firmly in both of your camps. There's no two ways about that. And as we look at some of the nice shots and great shots, we can also adore and enjoy those liveries. Roger Grols, a new one, really, really nice, I have to say. Very dynamic.
Kroijmans and Race Art have always delivered a wonderful livery, haven't they, across their cars?
It's art. Race art. I mean, what can you expect?
This is the car, I believe, of Christian Herdvieper. He, of course, drives for Emil Frey, and good to see Christian Herdvieper back. He was a very, very good driver last year, and he's certainly one of my tips for the top this year. It's a lot of drivers. It's a very, very packed grid in Coppa Shell and packed with talent, Nico, as well. So it's going to be a very, very close call when it comes to the season this year. Delighted also to welcome back John Dillon for Greypool Nottingham. Good to see John Dillon back in a 488 Challenge Evo. We've got lots of returning drivers, and Joachim Olander, who I was having a conversation with. We've not seen Joachim out on track yet for Scuderia Autoropa. Joachim Olander had a season really of highs and lows last year, and he said to me when I was having a conversation with him earlier on today that, you know, he very much wants to put right the wrongs of last year. And I said, how was free practice for you? And I won't use the word he used, but I don't think it was among his expectations. So we will see what he is able to deliver during qualifying. Big smile from Roger Grols as he's talking to his engineer then. And it's fascinating to see these lovely onboard shots that we can bring you. And Roger Grols then, as I mentioned, was in the year that he was missing in Ferrari Challenge, he was off doing other things. And hi to you, Roger. Listening in to us in there, you see, because they can patch us in, you see, rather than listening to his engineer. Give me some of Dave and Nick. I like that.
The Dave and Nick show.
Ingvar Madsen, of course, is one of our returning drivers as well, and he is with Ludovico right now.
Hi Dave, I'm here with Ivan Mattsson. Ivan, what feeling are you? What emotion are you feeling about this turn on Valencia circuit?
Yes, everyone thought it should be less grip now. It's hard to say. I felt it was rather good.
And are you find the great feeling with the car?
Yes, the car is good. It's here.
Just only in the hand. Okay, thank you, good luck.
Ingvar Madsen, who I made famous for his fabulous wobbles on the podium, where on occasions where he had the belt from his overalls undone when he was wobbling in celebration on the podium, Nico. It looked really rather entertaining. So we expect to see Ingvar Madsen certainly on the podiums during the course of the season. He's a lovely guy.
Oh yes, and it's certainly going to be...
Sorry, I'll get my coat. Time for you to go, Dave.
Don't say that. No, 1.5 minutes remaining until we go back green in this qualifying session with only 13 minutes remaining, and that means...
It's going to be busy.
Pretty much everybody still has work to do in this qualifying session. I think it's fair to say everybody, because even Roger Grols with a 1:38.357 is not going to be content with that in any shape or form. You already alluded to the depth and talent level in this session, in this series. I mean, I want to say there is 8 or 9 drivers who I can realistically see take the championship here. So being on it very early is important, because you can't allow in the championship to leave yourself in a hole early on, because it's going to be very difficult to be a consistent race winner just because of the level of competition.
Absolutely. Got to say well done to the recovery team here at the Valencia circuit, who've rescued the stricken car of Corinna Gosler very, very quickly indeed, which means our session can restart in but 40 seconds from now. So we'll go from red to green, and a lot of drivers with lap times to put in to guarantee their grid position for the race to come. And there you can see the Christian Kinch car. I mentioned he was one of the early runners out there, and at the moment is 4th fastest. There is Ingvar Madsen, who Ludovico was talking to just a few moments ago. Ingvar Madsen, driving the 199 car, is currently 3rd fastest for Scuderia Autoropa with a 1:39.701. So Roger Grols, Christian Herdvipper, Ingvar Madsen are the top 3, with then Christian Kinch and Peter Christensen. He's a dark horse as well, one to keep an eye on. In fact, there's the whole grid, as we have said, is littered with talent. And look how busy it becomes all of a sudden now as drivers are champing at the bit to get right out there, including right at the head of the pack, the 178 car from Lueg Sportivo Herta Racing of one Mr. Axel Sartingen. Axel and Franz Hengstler had such a wonderful battle last year. Franz Hengstler eventually becoming the champion. Well, he has been elevated to Trofeo Pirelli this year, which means it should be a great opportunity for Axel Sartingen to really show the immense talent he has. And what's fascinating about the Ferrari Challenge, Nico, is you get drivers like Axel Sartingen that have come to racing late in life and have proved just how good they are.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, the mix of drivers with all the different backgrounds is just amazing. And as we see, Fons Skelton and Eric Chung both have been part of the Ferrari Challenge forever.
Yes.
Eric Chung has been missing for the last few years because of pandemic-related reasons. He wasn't able to travel as much as he would have liked to.
Sure.
And it's good to have him back. We already saw him in the Middle East for the races in Abu Dhabi a few months back. But now he rejoins the European Championship where he has enjoyed so much success. But coming back, he finds the talent level of the series is as high as ever, if not higher.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And it's remarkable, isn't it, that drivers like Eric Chung, is a great example, of course, has raced not only in the European season series, as Nico has suggested, but also in Japan and Asia Pacific, which went before. Eric liking to travel and to experience European circuits and also to experience the level of competition there is that is provided. It's one of the wonderful things about this truly awesome one-make series, and that is that you can drive into series. So if you fancy doing some races in North America or the UK or Japan, you can do that as a European driver and vice versa.
Indeed, and talking about racing and being out there, all but one car, and that's Roger Growles, are currently out on the track, and that means it's already getting very, very busy. And with 10 minutes and 40 seconds, personal improvements, purple sectors are going to come fast and furious, but it's really essential to have a clear piece of tarmac ahead of you, and that's where teamwork comes into play.
You have taken the veritable words out of my mouth. You're reliant on your engineer, who, of course, has access to so much data and can follow the GPS map and can position the driver or advise the driver where to position the car so that he's got at least a fighting chance of being able to have that clear tarmac ahead of him to be able to set a very, very good lap. Here you can see the target cumulative time for Fons Skelton is 1:11.468. He's going to be off that because but not too far off. It's just 2 3/4 tenths down on that. I would have said this is much more an installation lap for Fons before he really goes for it. He's approaching the final turn now. And this is a real devil of a turn to get right, as we found last night. You're running downhill, you've got quite a sharp left-hander, and Fons now is going to be breaking the timing beam, and what I think will be going for a real effort. After saying that, Nico, he's stolen my thunder by delivering a time which is 6/100ths quicker than Roger Growles, which puts him provisionally P1.
Indeed, but as we said, times are going to improve, and that break in the proceedings certainly didn't slow the track down, so expect even more times to come.
Ronnie Kessel and Cyril, Fons' partner, looking on then, as Fons Skelton with a 1:38.293. Momentarily, I say momentarily, is at the top. Let's see who is going to start lighting up the timing screen with purple sectors to go even quicker. Ingvar Madsson did a very good Sector 1. Sector 2 was a little bit disappointing as he heads to breaking the timing beam now from P7. Ingvar Madsson crosses it now and stays P7 because he's like 2.1 seconds down on the target time. So Ingvar will go again. It's Skelton from Growles, from Herdvipa, from Thomas Gostner, as Fons Skelton has found a bit more, Nico. Through Sector 1, he's gone purple, but he's got traffic ahead of him now. That could compromise the lap.
Yeah, potentially. Let's see. Couldn't quite make out whether the car in front of him was on a flying lap as well, which would help, but
it's Manuel Gostner, of course, isn't it?
That is going to be difficult. Is it?
No, my GPS was telling me wrong.
Wasn't quite sure, but anyway, he got past, but that could have been the valuable 1 or 2 tenths. Let's see, 1:38.293.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is exactly what is the risk on this packed circuit. And Eric Chung has taken provisional pole away from Fons Skelton with a 1:31.149.
1:38.149 then from Eric Chung, as you rightly say then. And he goes quicker. Keep an eye on Axel Sartingen. He is about to cross the timing line, and look at that. He takes a full 1.5. That's 1.5 seconds out of the provisional pole time of Eric Chung. Axel Sartingen with a 1:36.573 is on a mission this afternoon with 7 minutes of this session remaining. Remind me, Nico, what times did we see in Trofeo Pirelli? We're always not going to get quite to that, but we are getting closer now with only one driver in the 136s, and that's the driver that's filling our screen at the moment, Axel Sartingen.
Yeah, it was Eliseo Dono with a 1:34.4, but in fairness, he was 1.4 seconds quicker than anybody. So for the rest of the grid, it was a 1:35 high. So we're not that far away from that. And given the Trofeo Pirelli drivers are expected to be a little bit quicker,
of course,
even though it's early in the day, this 1:36.573 is a truly creditable time.
It is very, very good. And of course, one should bear in mind, Eliseo Dono is 18 or 19 years of age. Axel Sartingen is much older than that and considerably taller. You know, Eliseo Dono is like 5'0" and weighs about a kilo. Axel is probably a bit heavier than that, and we have to bear that in mind. We're comparing pears and apples to compare the times from Trofeo Pirelli with Coppa Shell, but that is a hugely, hugely impressive time from Axel Sartingen. But after saying that, Fons Skeltermar has just crossed the timing line and has got closer. He's got within 9/10 of Axel Sartingen. So with 6 minutes remaining on this session, Nico, it ain't all over yet.
No, and we see a lot of personal bests, not necessarily someone who's immediately troubling the Axel Sartingen time, and he feels like, at least for the time being, and probably for this session, he has put in the lap time that he thinks he can rest his head on. But there is Willem van der Worm, who we were talking about earlier. Incredibly quick driver.
Returning to Ferrari Challenge in a very unfamiliar livery for Willem van der Worm, who was renowned for having an all-red 488 Challenge Evo. This year goes for the Dayglow yellow stroke green blue colours. And Willem is certainly one to be watched for during the course of this season. He's currently 6th fastest. It is Sartingen, Grols, Skeltermar, Gosner. Here is Axel Sartingen. He has decided that he has done enough as Roger Grols puts in a 1:37.358. And the team of Herta Racing go to work on the Axel Sartingen car. There is team principal Frank Herta to the right-hand side of your picture there. I think with just 5 minutes remaining, Axel's not going out again.
Yeah, but his provisional pole time is being challenged by quite a few drivers. Manuel Agostino, one of them, less than 1/10 down after the first sector. John Dillon with a very, very good lap. And Roger Grols, he is currently P2, and he still hasn't given up on pole position.
So Roger Grols we stay on board with now with that wonderful shot, and we go to our drone as he goes through the right-hander, then the sweeping left before heavy braking for the next turn as we ride on board with Roger Grols. His sector times thus far, and I would suggest from the sound of the engine that he's using this as something of an installation for the next lap, Nico. He's not full chat flat on it.
Or he might dive right hand. No, he won't.
He's going for it now.
He's going for it now. 4 minutes remaining.
This is the one to run the clock on Roger Grols, in my opinion, because he's got relatively clear track ahead. Forgive me interrupting
Absolutely.
you.
As we watch him, we also look at Manuela Gostner on our timing screen. She is challenging at least for the first row, and that is Corinna Gostner in picture and Manuela Gostner in graphics. Gostner internal, with a little bit of a difference. Manuela Gostner is approaching the timing line, and indeed she has put it onto P2, 2/10 off the Axel Sartingen time. So first row start as Corinna Gostner completes the lap, and from P15 she makes it up to, well, still P15. Manuela Gostner, meanwhile, is going again. Very good first sector. Christian Kinch, who was very active in the early goings, all the way down in P13. That's not going to be what he expected upon his return. And we could see one of his quickest laps was taken away. There is Manuela Gostner, and you can see it's a little bit bumpy off the racing line as she's aggressively taking the curbs.
Yes, and good that the MP Racing team got Corinna back out again, because bear in mind she was beat. Now this is Manuela really slowing, and I would suggest that is to build space ahead of her. Eliseo Dono, who we were talking about just a few moments ago, watches on from the pit wall. Eliseo Dono putting it on pole position for Trofeo Pirelli. You can just see in the background as well. Matt Griffin, one of the official driver coaches, looking on as well and advising with his headphones about what you should do and where you should put. There is Massimo Pepe to the right-hand side of his screen, and there, of course, is Manuela Gostner's partner and pusher, I should say, in terms of motivating to the best of her ability, and Manuela is very, very quick. This is the 136 car that we're watching now of Alexander Nussbaumer, who, of course, comes into this as the winner of the Coppa Shell AM Championship last year, elevated to the Shell Series. Again, a very different livery for the Alexander Nussbaumer car this year. He, of course, I would also suggest is not where necessarily we would expect him to be, P10. Done a personal best through Sector 1. He's got traffic ahead of him. Anyone setting purples at the moment? Not that I can see, and we are running out of time now. Just 1.5 minutes remaining. Here is Alexander Nussbaumer then. Braking really, really hard now, trying to just scrub that speed off before turning into that final turn and heading to break the timing beam. He was P10. This may not be an improvement from Alexander Nussbaumer. It is, but it is but one place, Nico.
Yeah, as you say, champion in the AMs. I think he's driving the champion car in Shell, because that looks like the Franz Engstler car from last year based on the livery. Not quite sure, but certainly looked like it. Manuela Gostner going again. That first sector may be grey, but it's a very good one. Only 10.5 down on the Axel Sartingen time after the first sector. The sector one wasn't quite there, so 1.3 seconds off the pace. So I think she might retire the car into pit lane at the end of this one, because you have to remember the tires you are qualifying on will be the ones for the race. So if you don't feel like you've got a significant improvement in them, overstressing them, it is...
Retention of rubber is critical, and she did as you suggested, indicated right. And here is Peter Christensen. Now, Peter is currently P6, done a personal best through Sector 1. I would suggest Peter Christensen is still going for it, and not considering tyre conservation at the moment. He's not done so many laps, though. So what he's doing is just making sure that every single centimetre of tarmac that he runs on now counts, and he'll be hoping to improve his currently provisional third row start, which was what P6 would give him. And we will see. Sector 2 was not brilliant, and actually I rather feel that Peter has dialed out of that now, so maybe not. He will head for the pit lane now, I think, and sure enough he does. So with the checkered flag out, is there anyone setting really quick sector times that is still on a lap, Nico?
No, it really doesn't. It looks like that qualifying has been set, or that grid for the race later on has been set, with Axel Sartingen and Manuela Gostner being on the front row. Roger Grols would be P3. Yeah. Very dangerous position, because he really has the race speed. And I do remember very vividly the battles between Roger Grols and Ernst Kirchmeier 2 years ago, which were good racing, entertainment, fair. And I think with Roger Grols, Axel Sartingen, and lots of the other drivers, we have lots of nice and interesting battles which we will be able to follow through the season, as this qualifying session is coming to a close without maybe the big drama at the end. But here is the big winner at the end, and that is Axel Sartingen, pole position, as we're about 4 minutes away from Shell AM qualifying getting underway. This is the man who put it on pole position for Shell, and how it's going to work in the race, we'll have all the Shell drivers in the front, and then the Shell AM drivers will have basically the grid positions after the Shell drivers, so they're not going to mix irrespective of lap times.
So they will be set off in their groups respectively, and so the quickest of the Shell AM drivers will start P1 effectively within class, rather than perhaps filtering in to the rest of the grid.
And therefore P16 overall on the grid, so it's going to be neat and tidy, at least at the start, and then
it will change.
Very predictable, it will change, as we've seen in Coppa Shell time and time again. Hello.
Oh, Axel Sartingen is a Ferrari, he says. He's not only a phenomenal racing driver, he's a big, big character as well. And I likened him to, you know, wherever he lives in Germany, the theatre was missing him, because he is a thorough performer and a great character. And next session, as Nico said, is going to start in 3 minutes' time, and that will be for Coppa Shell AM qualifying.
Yeah, it's a great view here of this stadium characteristics of this circuit Ricardo Tomo, which really from the top of the grandstand, both here in the main building as well as the grandstands, which you can see in the background, you can really see the entire circuit.
So here is confirmation of the qualifying results. Axel Sartingen, P1. Then it was Manuel Gosner, P2. Roger Grols, von Skeltermar, Joachim Olander, Peter Christensen, Willem van der Vorm, Eric Chung, Alexander Nussbaumer. And then it was Thomas Gosner ahead of John Dillon, Christian Herdwipper out of position. So too Christian Kinch, Ingvar Madsen potentially, and Corinna Gosner as well. So there we have it. Let's go down right now into the pit lane with Ludovica.
Axel, congratulations for the results. You are the poleman of first part of qualifying of Coppa Shell. What emotion are you feeling now?
Yeah, it's great. There's a good start in the season, so I really like to do a good lap time. It happened. I only did one lap, and so perfect start for me in this season. And I like Valencia. I like this technical track. So we will see. Yeah? We have races later on, so nothing wins so far, just 1 point. So we're fighting for the championship, so every point counts at the end. So I try my best at the start, but for now I'm happy.
And Axel, in your opinion, what are the strengths of the car?
Yeah, it's powerful, very powerful. Maybe for this track even too powerful. But we have 670 horsepower, but we have a top brake, and the car is in the latest Evo station, so it's top car now. So, but I wish for next year we have the new car, so will be a big surprise how the new car feels. But now we are very familiar with the 488 Evo. Perfect car for me. It's a lot of fun to drive, and at the limit, every car is difficult to drive.
Axel, the last question. Did you find a good feeling with the car on this track today?
Yes, it was perfect. My car, the setup was perfect. The team works perfect. We had a little bit struggling yesterday because one car broke down. We had gearbox problems, but now with this car is working fine. And yeah, I'm really happy to get the car around here in 36 something. So that's okay.
And what is your strategy you decided to use today on this qualifying session?
Strategy was quite easy, just to avoid traffic. So I went out and tried to gap a little bit, and then I had space enough to do one free lap, and that was enough. I did one lap, came in, so I went new tires, so all good.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Axel Sartingen then, what a star you are. And he's put it on pole position as we get the green lights already for our Coppa Shell AM qualifying. And those cars coming out of the track right now as we look at the 119 car of Louis Perescoia. Rosso Corsa racer, of course, also having raced in the Ferrari Challenge North American Series. Louis is going to be one to keep an eye on, choosing to race in some of the European rounds as well. This is the 105 car of Motohiko Isazaki. And last time I was talking about Motohiko, we were also in the sunshine. It was just a different part of the world. We were in the United Arab Emirates, where Motohiko was a star once again, Nico.
Yeah, definitely. Quite a little bit of a different characteristic between Abu Dhabi, Dubai and Valencia, potentially. But when you're on the circuit and it's a Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo, it doesn't count what's left and right of the circuit. You're focused on those white lines and the timing. And he really did a fantastic job back there. We've got 12 Coppa Shell AM drivers competing in this qualifying session, and 5 of them
Five of whom are already out on track, Nico.
Yeah, indeed. And with that means we have still a few in the pit lane, and it's going to take a few minutes before we will get the first meaningful times with out laps and installation laps being done.
We're looking at Pino Frascaro right now, who of course raced last year. He's with Kessel Racing, and Pino is another one of these not only wonderful drivers but wonderful characters as well. You know, lovely to talk to, and you cannot help but be infected by the enthusiasm he has for racing in the Ferrari Challenge, and truly lovely man. There is Manuela Gosner. And being congratulated by the team. Manuela Gosner having a real go during her qualifying. She's making her way back to the garage. The car having, of course, been parked up in Parc Ferme. And this is the car of Boris Gideon. Good to see Boris back in the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo once again. He's another returning driver. And that is the all-smiling Christian Kinch. Very tall is Christian. 7'6", I think. I'm joking.
Well, maybe a little bit off, but that smile certainly was worthy of a 7'6" person. As we get
that's
Mutlu Tassev, our Turkish entry, also a very interesting livery, very beautiful.
He, of course, racing for Emil Ferrari as well, and as you can see, very much an installation lap going on there. Just I have to say, I'm spellbound, Nico, and almost speechless, which many people would pay a lot of money for that, to see the beauty and the you know, the time that is spent in terms of designing the livery of these cars. You know, absolutely wonderful. They are all so distinctive.
Oh yes, 100%. I think it's fair to say that the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo, as basically every Ferrari, it works with a very plain red, it works with a very plain yellow, because it accentuates the shape of the car, but then also you can put so much creativity into it.
Talking of creativity, let's go down into the pit lane with Ludovica once again.
Hi Dave, I'm here with Franz Engstler. Franz, today and in this morning you realize a good lap in your qualification. What is your... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Alexander, I'm so sorry. This morning you realize a good qualification. How is going?
No, my qualification was not so brilliant because I was struggling for grip. My car got worse compared to yesterday. I don't know what happened, but I really was struggling with the grip. And so I think overall I went P9. I'm not so happy at the moment. We have to look what happened with the car.
Thank you.
Okay,
sorry for
thank you.
mistakes. Dave, sorry for mistakes. In this way, we heard another voices. I'm so sorry.
Ludovica, there's no need to apologise. Alexander Nussbaumer, of course, he will be disappointed because you know, he won the Coppa Shell AM Championship last year. Elevated, of course, to Coppa Shell this year. Qualifying for him did not go the way that he expected, Nico.
In fairness, he was driving Franz Engstler's car from last year, so...
You said that.
There is some justification, but anyway, the 101 car is one of Paolo Scudieri, also a very veteran entry to the Ferrari Challenge, and we've seen him competing in the series for many years. A very good and successful driver, as Pino Frescaro puts it on P1 provisionally, but it's a 1:57.230. It is a time, but it's not a time that's going to be relevant at the end of the session. Certainly if Pino has it his own way, and no reason to question that.
You say that, you know, anything can happen in the session, you know, and I'm still a firm believer. I am not a racing driver any more than I am a ballet dancer. Can you imagine a sight worse than that?
Yes.
You know, you have to, in my opinion, you've got, really, you have to go out and bank a lap, I think. You know, I think it's, you know, you listen to when Ludovica was talking to Axel Sartingen, you know, he got it absolutely perfect, helped with his team, went out there, blitzed one lap, came in, conserved the tyres. You've got to be very lucky, and every little tick in every box has got to be engaged for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's never wrong to put a lap time in. I hope for all our cars that we won't have all of a sudden rainstorm from out of nowhere.
Which we have had here.
Which we have had here, and it's memorable situations that the rain has caused here in Valencia, but no trace of that today. And Mutlutasev has put it into the 1:43. That's a full 14 seconds quicker. Just an indication of where this is heading in terms of times. I think we'll see certainly a sub 1:40 time.
Incidentally, if you are a Valencian restaurant and you've been missing one of your big catering umbrellas, the reason for that is my learned friend on my right-hand side nicked it for us to make our way back to the paddock.
11 years ago or something like that.
Yes, because it was monsoon-like, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think...
we ain't going to get that.
No, I don't think so. And it's been so long ago, I think, if you're missing that and you only notice now, you should make an inventory every 10 years. No, just saying. You know?
Motohiko Izazaki is quickest at the moment with a 1:39.74757. Forgive me, Motohiko. Kirk Bervold, Kessel Racing. Another driver that's raced in the USA Series, the North American Series, is second fastest. Then it's Henrik Kamstrup. I was talking to Henrik earlier on today, and here is Motohiko then going for another one. And for the Cornes Motoshiba team already, Sector 1 has gone purple, which means it's an improving lap thus far, Nico, for Motohiko Isazaki.
a full second almost in that first sector, which is truly impressive, even though we expect the times to come down. Taking 1 second in a single sector and taking just another second in the second sector.
Wow.
Now let's see if you can find a third second, because that would put him on the 1:36, and that is pretty much where Axel Sartingen finished his lap for Shell pole. So really, really good lap time for Motohiko Isozaki expected at the end of this blast off the throttle. Passes pit entry, and there is the timing line, a 1:37.864. Lost a little bit of time in the final sector, and I think we saw that a little bit. Slight wobble, but a really good lap.
As he was heading towards the line, his previous lap time was being threatened by Stefano Marazzi for Rosso Corsa, which didn't come to anything in the end. But here is Henrik Kamstrup, who's got personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2. If the little S1 boxes on the graphics are blue, it means it's personal best times. If they are purple, it's better than anyone. And you can see how busy it is out there on track at the moment, with just over 11 minutes of this qualifying session as Henrik Kamstrup vaults himself up to P5. You can see the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen as Boris Gideon for Autohaus Ulrich, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, puts himself at P2 as Motohiko is finding more pace from that car, Nico, because he's gone purple in Sector 1 again. So dissatisfied with the 1:37.864, he's going for it again. And now it's this risk-reward strategy in terms of taking longevity out of the tyres to give you a better grid position. Although he was already P1, would he have stayed P1? And now, as you can see, he improves through Sector 1 and Sector 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, the last sector was the one where he potentially lost a little bit of time, so he could challenge for the time that Axel Sartingen set in Shell qualifying, 1:36.4. So let's watch him as he crosses the timing line. And I dare say, if he completes that lap, again, the last sector
that final sector isn't working for him, is it?
Yeah, something in there is which is not quite figured out. And I mean, we're talking about a very, very high level of expectation based on the first two sectors.
Of course.
And I think it's just an awesome and incredible sign that, you know, by all accounts, Motohiko Isozaki is not, his home is not Valencia. And he doesn't have the track knowledge that some of the others have, but for him to come in and be so dominant early on in this session is very impressive.
It is impressive. He's a great driver. Here's Boris Gideon then, who's currently second fastest. I don't think he's going to trouble the provisional pole time with this lap. And no, he stays P2. In fact, he's very nearly 3/10 down on the target time of 1:37.864, but he will go again, I do not doubt. Who else is looking pretty quick out there? Well, we're seeing good times from Roland Hertner, who we've not mentioned yet, for Charles Pozzi GT Racing, but he is currently sixth fastest. This then is the car of Stefano Marazzi for Rosso Corsa then, third fastest with personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2. So this could be, whoa, as he gets so sideways off the final turn, and that will have cost some valuable tenths. Although we love to see cars sideways, it's not the quickest way around the track.
No, it wasn't, and that was a heart-stopping moment. He controlled it eventually and did so very well, but obviously by that time the lap time had evaporated, and any chance of him making that improvement in there, you can see again, and just running a little bit too far to the outside onto the AstroTurf or whatever that piece.
It's paint, isn't it? I
think.
It
just paint?
Let's see it from this angle here.
Yeah,
I think it is. Well, it might be Astro, Nico, to be fair. We didn't venture out onto that because we kept a tight line during our track walk yesterday.
Just too lazy at that stage of the lap because we were just tired.
You're too interested in dinner.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was very interesting to see. Thanks, guys, for giving us that replay. So we will see improvements to come then. What have we got? Just under 8 minutes of the session remaining. How does it sit? Well, currently Motohiko Isozaki is untroubled and is the only driver to have put it in the 1:37s, ahead of Boris Gideon and then Stefano Marazzi. Now, Motohiko Isozaki has parked the car in the pit lane, Nico, feeling reasonably confident. I mean, the margin between P1 and P2 is only just under 3/10, but what he's doing is conserving the tyres.
Yeah, and I think it's exactly what you said earlier, in that he went out for one stint, one attempt at setting the best possible time, and he felt like, okay, I've done it, and what else I might achieve, it may be a few 100s, yes, but the negative effect on the tires come the end of the race later on just isn't worth it. So I think very smart move. And now Boris Gideon, first sector is a purple one, and that means maybe potentially that provisional pole time is under threat for real. There is a lot of traffic ahead of Boris Gideon.
I think it's far enough ahead.
Well, it's still a sector and a half to do, so let's see if all those drivers are on a quick lap, and it looks like it, then he might get a out of jail card free. But if any of those drivers bails the lap, he might be in trouble because of traffic. Let's see. It's still a few seconds.
Oh, and Pino Frascaro, I think, has. So sure enough, Boris has got to try and thread his way through that traffic.
And we're talking so small margins. Well, the second sector was actually very good. He's 2.5 tenths quicker, but I just think that will be a tough ask to keep it on that trajectory.
Nico. You can see that he's let off.
And that is very unfortunate. And the thing is, he's now already again in a position where he won't have a clear lap ahead of him the next lap that he starts. So he might just bide his time and find track space across the next 4 kilometers once around this track, and then have one more go. I mean, with 6 minutes remaining, there is still time for it.
Not so much time, but there is time for it. You're absolutely right. Andrea there from Rosso Corsa looking on. Motohiko Isazaki then at the moment, his strategy. Wow, Josef Schumacher has gone third fastest, Nico. I didn't see that coming out of the box with a 1:39.045. Well done to Josef Schumacher driving for Eberlein Automotive.
Yeah, and he was the last one out of the pits, and he was the bottom feeder on our timing screen for the majority of this session. But as you say, very, very good. Almost Axel Sartingen-like. One bite at the cherry, and all of a sudden he is P3.
It ain't over until it's over. Kirk Biervold, we're watching now for Kessel Racing, who's currently 6th fastest with a 1:43.70, looking for an improvement, and certainly from a personal viewpoint has done that through Sector 1. It'll be interesting to see. The target cumulative sector time is 1:11.312. It's a bit down on that. And Sector 2 then did look to me like he'd bailed out of that part of the middle sector as well. So we'll see if he's just lining himself up for the next lap, because he can certainly go again, because we've got 4.5 minutes remaining on the clock. And wow, Nico has just pointed out to me a little 0, an O that you can see in the corner of the screen. Just before I explain that, Motohiko Isazaki. I think we're going to go down to Ludovica.
Hi Dave, we are here with Carlo. Carlo, what is the lap and the qualifying about Motoaki?
Yes, Isozaki-san, that is coming from the APAC series, that is one series from Ferrari. This year he decided to join Ferrari Challenge Europe, and now he's doing very well. He gained half a second comparing to yesterday lap time. So we are happy and confident that he can do the pole position in Shell AM. We keep our finger crossed for him, because we are all fan from Isozaki-san. So let's see now, 5 minutes to go and we will see.
We hope for
Yes.
Isozaki. Okay, David, this time the pilot was correct and his name was correct. So
Motohiko Isazaki, brilliant. And thanks for getting Carlo for us. So the 0 that I was going to explain on the timing screen, which really surprises me, means that Motohiko has left the pit lane and he's going out again. And with only 3.5 minutes remaining on the time, Nico, I'm surprised that he's gone out again, because he's got a 3/10 advantage over anybody else. And although Boris Gideon is still out there and we can see him and he is improving, but his lap once again is being compromised by traffic. Motohiko has obviously felt that the margin of just under 3/10 is not enough for him to be safely assured for pole position.
Boris Gideon rally started across the gravel trap, and that certainly and finally I think has put the proverbial nail into this lap's coffin. And maybe with the dirt on the tires compromises the next lap enough that will also suffer. But you know, with Motohiko Isazaki, maybe it's just track knowledge and just using every little bit of opportunity to experience the track. And we don't know if maybe he put in on some older tires from the test sessions, you know, just to experience the track now, how it feels with some used rubber compared to the new ones that he put on in the qualifying session. We don't quite know. All we know is he is out there again, and he's not doing poor lap times. The first sector just 2/10 off his previous best, so he's certainly not using it as a tourist lap, that's for sure.
Thank you for that. It's getting very sideways there, and nice to see was Henrik Kamstrup for Formula Racing, who has done a personal best through Sector 1, and he is currently running in a P9 position in this qualifying session, of which there is just over 1 minute and 3/4 remaining. So it is Isozaki, Boris Gideon, Josef Schumacher, Stefano Marazzi, Roland Hurtner then. They occupy the top 5 positions. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars out there on track. So, at last, perhaps Boris Gideon might be able to find clear tarmac ahead of him. And we will see if he's able to convert that clear tarmac into the lap time that he really feels is underneath him. Someone being warned for track limits is this man, Henrik Kamstrup. Now, the track limit situation is this, that you tend to get 3 warnings before in the race before you get a penalty. When it comes to qualifying, you can have that lap time deleted, Nico.
Yeah, immediately. The moment that they say, oh, track limits, and that exactly happened to Henrik Kamstrup, so that lap doesn't count. There is the
Tommy Lindroth.
Tommy Lindroth on the service road, the 127 car.
Tommy's done a good qualifying, P8.
Yeah, and oh, Boris Gideon has done it, and we didn't quite catch that. Boris Gideon has put it on provisional pole, 137.734. It came late, and he used a lot of his tire to do it, but he had accomplished that, and P1, as we see Tommy Lindroth.
Well, this is Tommy being very, very clever here. Beaches the car, but keeps his foot in, and he's managed to get it out of the gravel so it hasn't suspended the session. Motohiko Isozaki is going to respond to Boris Gideon's time then that we didn't see. 137.734 from Boris Gideon. Here comes Motohiko Isozaki then, who sat for most of the session in that P1 position. To have that P1 taken away in the final knockings of this qualifying session. He's got clear track ahead of him. Sector 2, Nico, was a bit of a disappointment. He's 4/10 down.
But he, sorry for interrupting, but he did lose a lot of time on his previous attempts in the final sector. If he caught that bit of intel that will allow him to be quicker through that final turn, maybe it will be enough of a difference. It's not over. The checkered flag is out. This is the last opportunity. Last blast off the throttle, 137.734. It's almost, but not
Full
quite.
chat flat across the line. I thought it was going to be a big ask for him to find 4.5 tenths in the final sector, to be honest. Wow. Wow. Well done to Motohiko for having a go. I mean, it is a front row start for him, but bearing in mind that he does get a point for pole position, does Boris Gideon, and, well, he was... the qualifying session was very much between Motohiko Isozaki and Boris Gideon, and well, it is Boris Gideon that has just shaded it. I think as Nico said, he took a lot of time to get to that position, but he has done it, and he is pole sitter. So well done to Boris, well done to Motohiko Isozaki, well done to Kirk Beervold and Henrik Kamstrup as well, and Josef Schumacher. Stefano Marazzi, of course, we'll bring you the full results in due course. So you can see the cars lining up for Parc Fermé, and here we can see the car from Autohaus Ulrich that has given its driver pole position. Of course, a very valuable extra point for pole position as well. So Boris Gideon does it. Here come the results then. Boris Gideon P1, Motohiko Isozaki P2. Then it was Kirk Beervold, Henrik Kamstrup, Josef Schumacher, Stefano Marazzi, Paolo Scudieri, Roland Hurtner, Tommy Lindroth, Mutlu Tasev P10, taking P11, Pino Frascari and Louis Perescoia then rounding out the 12 entries in Coppa Shell AM from Ferrari Challenge. All our qualifying done. Everything now is focused on the race. Boris Gideon is offered congratulations from the Autohaus Ulrich team. He did a very, very good job indeed. So he'll be heading off to the garage now, and there you can see driver coach passing on best wishes as well. There's a beaming Josef Schumacher, who did a very, very good job in qualifying as well. P5, one of his best qualifyings, Nico.
Yeah, and he only used 5 laps compared to Boris Gideon, who did 10 laps. So his Pirelli P0 certainly should be in peak position come race time, which is just might be a factor later on. So there is the picture of Valentino Rossi painted on the restaurant building, from which said umbrella, which we talked about earlier, was
you lifted.
Borrowed.
You lifted.
Borrowed.
Yeah, you liberated that from its holder and made your way back to the hospitality to maintain a dry position. So we're going to find out how Boris Gideon feels about his pole position. He's with Ludovico.
We are here with Boris, the poleman, the first poleman of the Coppa Shell trophy of Trofeo of the Ferrari Challenge Europe. Boris, what emotion are you feeling now?
Yeah, I feel very good, very happy. I was 2 years off in racing, so my first race after 2 years. And I like the track, the car feels amazing. So I'm very, very happy with my first pole.
And in your opinion, what is the hardest part of the track of Valencia?
What's the hardest track? The hardest part of it? I think all of them are quite difficult, but I think the turn 8, I think I struggled most. In some way it worked out quite well.
Boris, what do you expect from the race, the race
I have
one?
no expectations. I just want to have some fun, and let's see how the first couple of turns go.
And about your opponents?
About the what?
About your opponents, the other competitors.
Well, they're very good. I mean, they were very close. I think until the end, I was on P2. I heard from my coach, and so I think it will be a very close race. Yeah?
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ciao.
Well done, Boris. Great pole position. Well done, Ludovico. I didn't realise it was Boris's first pole position in the Ferrari Challenge, so well done to him. So there we have it. Qualifying done and dusted for Coppa Shell AM. Please make sure you join us for the races this afternoon. From Nico, from myself, and also from Ludovico. Bye-bye for now.